Aokiji is the most sympathetic character in One Piece, as seen when he fought Luffy and let him live because of his grandfather, Garp. Also, there's the moment of him letting Robin live after the Ohara incident. These are moments where Aokiji could have easily killed two characters near and dear to us, but he didn't because of his sympathy. So to see him join the least sympathetic character in One Piece when it comes to Marshal DT, who killed his own crewmate Thatch to obtain the Yami Yami no Mi, breaking a cardinal sin, a cardinal rule on Whitebeard's ship, it really showed that Aokiji was really going to the least moral character. Also, Oda revealed Aokiji to be the first admiral of the three admirals in the story, and definitely has some big things planned by having him fight Akainu for 10 days at the beginning of the time skip, and had an island arc based off of his Delphin ability in Punk Hazard, to having to save his best friend by being almost killed by Doflamingo, and then got questioned by the same friend for being a part of the underworld. We even saw the Gorosei mention Aokiji's ties to Blackbeard, so Akainu, of course, like Akainu's gonna do, is gonna deflect and say who gives a crap. All I'm trying to say is him defeating Cracker and stealing Pudding, who can read the honoglyphs with her third eye, is the least of our worries. As the final saga begins, Aokiji's true intentions will come to light, forcing Blackbeard to make a decision. Because I definitely feel like Aokiji, yes, it seems like he's fully on Blackbeard's side, but there's gonna be a point where Aokiji definitely is going to make a decision. And I honestly feel like he's also changing how Blackbeard is as a person too, because the most moral, authentic person teaming up with Blackbeard, who's the least moral and has no authenticity, yeah, you're definitely going to see some crazy stuff for the final saga. Now, the first time we actually see Blackbeard and Aokiji interact, it has to do with pretty much there's a deal that Blackbeard wants to do where he gives Kobe to the world government and he becomes a king of his island and a part of the world government. And yeah, Aokiji's like, give up on the deal because Kobe's a part of SWORD. Pretty much he's a Marine, but he's not a Marine. He gave up his Marine codes. Aokiji goes into detail saying soldiers who already gave in their 2-week notice can fight the Yonko without needing permission and pretty much ignore any order that the Navy gives them, but also the Navy can fire them at any time. And Teach says, I'm not changing my plan. It really showed how Aokiji was giving Teach some really responsible details that he should be worried about, and pretty much telling him that it's no point of doing that. If you do that, it's going to be a failure. But Teach still says he's going to do it. He's going to do his plan, showing that this is the beginning stages of their relationship. Like, they've only been together for a year as a pirate crew. Like, even the level 6 prisoners have been longer with their Teach for a good at least 2 years. So Aokiji definitely needs to still be around for Blackbeard to actually listen to his advice. But the fact that Blackbeard is still doing the bare minimum of listening to Aokiji and asking him questions really shows that he still looks at respect at Aokiji. I think Aokiji's is actually most respectful Blackbeard pirate so far. And we see the respect go both ways because Aokiji tells Kobe, you can't escape when Teach isn't around. That's very deep. It's like, yeah, you can look at a face value just telling Kobe you can't escape, but he says when Teach isn't around. So it looks like Aokiji's telling him, yeah, you can escape when Blackbeard's here because that's going to fall on Blackbeard's responsibility. But if you escape now, well, you're going to blow up my cards. They're going to blow up. It's going to come all back to haunt me, so I can't let that happen. The way he explains it to Kobe, it really seems like Aokiji has a bigger purpose that is actually for the greater good. And he's just using Blackbeard, which Blackbeard wanted. Blackbeard said, if like, use me pretty much. Like, Blackbeard didn't mind Aokiji being interest based. I love how Blackbeard is so pissed off that his crew members were frozen. Like, we've seen the huge San Juan Wolf, Doc Q, and Vasco Shot. I'll be honest with you, of those three, Vasco Shot looks to be the strongest of those three characters. That's just a guess of mine. So it was pretty impressive for Aokiji to freeze him. But Blackbeard knew there's only one man who could have been able to do this. There's only one man with that Ice Delphin ability. Blackbeard was on Marine 4. He knows Aokiji's power, obviously from back in the days too on the Whitebeard Pirates. So yeah, it was pretty cool to see him say, I already know who did this. And Aokiji says, you're the captain, you should know who struck first. And says he is mourning after Akainu loss, where he lost a leg. So I definitely understand that Aokiji's like, yeah, okay, it's like he's not just saying F off to Blackbeard. He's pretty much saying, you know your guys, I'm innocent, your guys are guilty, so stop acting like a victim. Aokiji and Blackbeard proceed to bond over drinks. It kind of reminded me of Kaido and Big Mom, and we should really be looking at it like on that level if you think about it, because you have to understand this. Kaido and Big Mom were two Yonko teaming up in Wano. And the reason why this was such a big deal is because Big Mom has Katakuri, she has Smoothie, she has Daifuku, she has Paraspera. Like, she has a bunch of monsters under her. So it's not just Big Mom's monster strength, it's also her monster crew, like on Hokage Island, and the ones she brought to Wano that was making this a serious threat. Aokiji is a former admiral that fought Akainu for 10 days. So to see him bonding with Blackbeard the same way Akainu and Big Mom were bonding, and they had a relationship before that, Aokiji and Blackbeard didn't have a relationship, was very interesting and definitely is a threat that the Gorosei were alarmed of. Like, yeah, this is a former admiral teaming up with the Yonko. This is a big deal. Aokiji definitely just deflected it. Now, I do want to say this. It's unlike Luffy and Jaya, who didn't get along with Blackbeard. And Aokiji lets Teach know what Akainu said during their fight. So Aokiji is being really authentic and sincere in this moment. Akainu said, two men coming up in the ranks together in a fight to the death. I can feel something boiling within me. And Aokiji makes a joke saying that he said that would be the magma, which had the Blackbeard pirates laughing their ass off. But I know this is truly an intense moment and not a lot laughs when this is actually happening on Punk Hazard. And we see Aokiji explain how he pretty much has to make an ice leg all the time. And they reply, wow, this is what it's like when admirals fight. Look at the respect that Yonko crew has for the former admirals and admirals. Honestly, Akainu and Aokiji's power is respected. And then they ask, did he rip off Akainu's arm? Which Aokiji says, nah, but he's scarred all over. I always knew Aokiji would be the one to speak about this, as Akainu seems less inclined to speak about the past. But the fact that he's speaking about this to Marshal D. Teach, there's something different about this relationship that needs to be explored. They ask him about the man marked by flames who has one of the final road poneglyphs, and Aokiji says when it comes to poneglyphs, he only knows about the Ohara incident and Saul and Nico Robin, who he let live. Her fate was in his hands. This is foreshadowing to maybe Blackbeard coming to Elbaf, because Saul and Robin are now bonding on that island. So if they saw Aokiji, it would definitely be meaningful and deep. Aokiji was good friends with Jaguar D. Saul too as well, and you're starting to notice that Aokiji has an affinity for the Will D, but I'll speak about that a little bit later. Lafitte also wants the Ice Dove Fruit, showing how he's always scheming, and Aokiji wilds out and goes ham, and Blackbeard tells him to wait Kuzan, showing that he's getting really close to the relationship, from calling him Aokiji now calling him Kuzan. And pretty much says, my man made a stupid decision, and that's not my intent. Just my intent is actually the opposite. Blackbeard is truly, how to say this, trying to get across to Aokiji. And honestly, I feel like this is very interesting, because usually Blackbeard is scared to be sincere. As seen with Ace and Whitebeard, you could see that he's struggling to be sincere in those moments with guys he actually was on the same crew with. So seeing him being sincere with Aokiji, this leads me to believe he truly respects the Iceman. And I thought that was pretty cool. Also, the fact that Avalo Pizarro is frozen with Vasco shot in this moment, like the fact he's low diffing these level 6 prisoners like it's nothing. Yeah, Aokiji is really flexing his muscles as a powerful character. As Blackbeard asks, will you ride with us? And his crew asks if Blackbeard has lost his mind. And Blackbeard starts giving reason and logic to Aokiji, and Aokiji likes this, of course. He says, you're out of a job, nothing lined up, what else are you going to do? Chased around by the powers of justice? But in our world, justice takes a different form. Aokiji says, I don't trust just after a couple of drinks. And pretty much, Blackbeard says, you have the wrong idea about pirates. Nobody said we're best friends. The only thing pirates need is an alignment of interest. You're a free man. What do you want, Kuzan? Blackbeard knows Aokiji is interest-based and wants to change just like Teach. Like, he wants to change the world just like Teach, who wants to become the king of the world, like Rock. So I definitely feel like Blackbeard was really pulling the strings of Aokiji here. Not trying to say he's manipulating him, but more so making him see the world through his lens. And this is powerful. Cut to the Garp Aokiji battle, and there's a lot of cool moments in this battle. But the one thing I want to highlight is Garp speaks pretty much what's on his mind. If you've seen Garp, he always just says what's on his mind. It's pretty funny, but Aokiji mentions it and highlights it. He says, yo, I love that you always speak what's on your mind, and pretty much says that's why I live the way I do right now. And it's crazy because he's going from one Willie D character in Monkey D. Garp to Marshall D. Teach. It's like the Willie D has followed Aokiji a very long time, and with Vegapunk's message happening, I think there's some deeper things going through his mind that Oda has yet just to reveal. We also learn of Aokiji's training with no Devil Fruit and no Haki, the routine he was training under Garp as his protege, and this training shows he is super strong physically, and Blackbeard with 2 Devil Fruit abilities and impressive Haki against the Seraphim S Hawk. But he also has impressive physical strength. He almost broke Ace's neck with 1 punch. Maybe it's because his special race, the Buccaneer race cheese in Egghead Island, that maybe that Kuma has, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. But still, this is 2 monstrative powers, not just with their Devil Fruit and Haki, just in their raw physical strength. They're powerful characters. I remember the scene of Garp training and Aokiji asking Garp to train him. And Garp, of course, does it reluctantly. But he also, while doing it, complains about his son becoming revolutionary. And the reason why is I believe Oda wouldn't just do this randomly. I think Aokiji and Dragon have to meet because of Luffy's relationship with Aokiji and also Garp's extreme relationship with Aokiji. I think there has to be a meeting of Dragon and Aokiji, a former Marine Dragon who also might have a relationship with Akainu. So I think that this has to happen in the final saga, and honestly, I'm going to explain a bit more why it makes sense. We also see Garp complaining about his grandson Luffy becoming a pirate to Aokiji. Aokiji's like, yo, I'm an admiral now, like, why are you yelling at me? And Aokiji then later on in the fight says, you have a habit of raising enemies, as he Haki clashes with Garp with a punch, not using his Delver ability, proving Aokiji's power is living up to his name. And the fact that Garp is mentioning 2 Willie D family members in Monkey D. Dragon, Monkey D. Luffy, and we see in chapter 1121, the race to claim the One Piece, there's Willie D, Marshall D. Teach, who Aokiji is connected to right now, but there are 2 other Willie D's on that final page, is Monkey D. Luffy and Monkey D. Dragon. I think these are 2 possible scenarios for, of course, Aokiji to align with. And I think there's more than meets the eye here. Right after this, Garp actually calls Aokiji soft for being concerned about the scratches on him, though the fact that Aokiji's concerned shows that Shiri the Rain sword wound was a big deal. This is another hint to me thinking Aokiji's going to fold in the future. Garp's pretty much saying that Aokiji is too sympathetic, like I mentioned, and that's a bad thing. And I think this could also cause something bad to happen to Aokiji when it comes to Blackbeard, because Blackbeard is the least sympathetic, so there could be a moment of weakness in the future. We even see this highlighted again when Garp is laughing after his defeat, and Aokiji is freezing his tears on his face. Like, the fact that he's locked in with Blackbeard, yet he's freezing his tears on his face when defeating Garp, it seems like he has a bigger purpose to stop the world government and the Marines that's led by Akainu. That's why he wanted to become Fleet Admiral. He doesn't even care about Fleet Admiral, but if Akainu was going to be Fleet Admiral, he definitely would have fought 10 days. I think there's more than meets the eye, and I think this is a very iconic scene that helps. I always thought it was interesting at the end of Egghead Island when Kizaru asked if Akainu ever killed a close friend, when speaking on him and Vegapunk's friendship and relationship and how he killed him on Egghead Island. And this is because I kind of accused Kizaru of doing a sloppy work. And Kizaru, I know his mind is thinking me, sloppy work. Kizaru knows Aokiji and Akainu's friendship. So the fact that Akainu came back and Aokiji was living, that is the biggest sloppy work, as we're seeing the repercussions in the future. And that's why Akainu actually apologizes. He actually apologizes to Kizaru. A rare moment of Akainu apologizing, because he knows he didn't smoke Aokiji like he should have when he had the chance. I also want to talk about after Egghead Island, when Blackbeard returns back to Pirate Island Beehive, he actually goes and scolds Pizarro for Kobe escaping, saying now we gotta be ready. So I expect Blackbeard to make a big move during Outbath. Like, this is obviously gonna happen. If Blackbeard's making a big move, Aokiji's making a big move. So it's happening relatively soon. And the fact that Aokiji didn't get scolded for this shows the respect that Blackbeard has for him compared to Evolve Pizarro. Blackbeard then, of course, has a meeting with his crew and speaks to Aokiji, because everyone knows Aokiji was the strongest character on Pirate Island, so you have to ask him the questions of what really happened. And of course, Aokiji says Garp is caught, and says, not many... Blackbeard replies, not many can take down this man. And Blackbeard, of course, is a historian. He knows how powerful Marco D. Garp is. He's the hero of the Marines. But, of course, Aokiji says, I didn't do it by myself. And it just shows you that this guy loves Kuzan. What I'm learning is, because he says, don't be too hard on yourself. Like, he's so nice to Kuzan. And the fact that he's grabbing onto Pudding, I think that's also a reason Kuzan is just helping Blackbeard so much. I think their relationship getting closer and closer could help Kuzan attempt to change Blackbeard just a little. Changing Blackbeard a little, even though he's the final villain, changing him a little could show how powerful Aokiji's personality is when it comes to making Blackbeard just a little bit more sympathetic than he already, like, because he has no sympathy. Blackbeard has no sympathy, so just make him a little sympathy might change everything for the final saga. And just to add into the fact that Blackbeard and Aokiji are going to be making their move soon, and that final panel of 1121 is going to be legitimized, Blackbeard tells Luffy who's watching the revolutionaries, tells him to stop watching and get ready, showing that, yeah, the Monkey D. Dragon theory is plausible now. And Blackbeard is now speaking to Caribou, who's going to reveal the ancient weapon Pluton on Wano, and is going to reveal the ancient weapon Poseidon on Fishman Island. 2 islands that belong to one man in Monkey D. Luffy. Like, for all we know, that Blackbeard and Luffy battle might be happening sooner than we think. It is the final saga. And if Blackbeard and Luffy happen, I told you there's only 2 other Willow D members on that final page, and if Aokiji's going to move from one Willow D to another, it's either Dragon or Luffy. Those are the only 2 other ones on that page. So if I'm being completely honest, I think there's 3 situations that could happen. Of course, Blackbeard versus Shanks is a guarantee, and Aokiji definitely could switch sides because, let's be honest, his interests can align with the Celestial Dragon red-haired Fakerland Shanks more than Blackbeard. And I think that one discussion with Shanks could change a lot. But there's also Blackbeard, who was going after the ancient weapons. There could be a situation where Aokiji might want to help Monkey D. Dragon obtain it over Tej. You know, the relationship that Aokiji had with his father, Garp. So I think that meeting could really change everything. And Aokiji does remind me of Kuma a little bit, the way he acts. So Kuma is very sympathetic as well. So I definitely feel like he could bond with Dragon the same way he bonded with Garp easily. And then lastly, there's Luffy versus Blackbeard, and he could think of Garp when he sees Luffy go against Tej. And yes, he's trying to change Tej, but Luffy is what Aokiji wants Blackbeard to be, if I'm being completely honest. Like, Luffy is the man that Aokiji wants Blackbeard to be. I'm just keeping it real. So it could get him to switch sides and go against Blackbeard, like Mihawk warned how Luffy has the greatest ability to change sides. So if Aokiji, who defeated Garp, he didn't switch sides for Garp, his former teacher, but switches sides for Luffy because he believes in Luffy's interests more than Marshall D. Tej, who Luffy is interest-based. Don't forget that. Marshall Tej is actually not interest-based. He's more going down by the system. This could be a big deal. But regardless, I have to admit, Blackbeard and Aokiji do have a sincere relationship. And because it's sincere, we could see something shocking happen. None of these 3 situations happen, and Blackbeard changes through Aokiji. Not fully, but just a little bit, to the point where Blackbeard and Imu might go at it, and Aokiji might be helping Blackbeard in the final war. Though I do believe that is a long shot. It's still a possibility, and that's what I'm trying to say. Aokiji joining Blackbeard is the greatest plot twist to happen that people are not talking about.